everybody. Welcome back to the Latched Mama podcast. Melissa here. It is almost 2021. We are so close to putting 2020 behind us. And I'm really excited about today's podcast. I am sitting down with Becca Campbell, who is a professional pediatric sleep consultant, to talk about all things sleep, because I know everybody has a lot of questions and thoughts and feelings about sleep and how we get more, and how we walk our kids through learning how to sleep as well. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
You're listening to the Latched Mama podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Wirt, business owner and tired mom of 5. Join us each week as we talk about pregnancy, nursing, parenting, and all things motherhood.
Hi, Becca. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I've never done a face-to-face interview before. This is exciting.
I'm so happy to have you here. And you're probably, Kennedy and I were laughing. It's like, it's nice that you're local, but you're probably like our first like real podcast guest. Like you have your own like followers and people, and like it's kind of exciting. I'm a little intimidated, but we're gonna get through it. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Becca. I actually grew up here in Mechanicsville is where I grew up and where we live now. I have 2 daughters, Ellie and Hattie, who are, I always have to pause, 4 and 6. They're 18 months apart, so there's always that weird gap where I'm like, how old are they? So 4 and 6 years old. And my husband, Chad, is my business partner. We own Little Z Sleep Consulting, as well as another business, the Sleep Sorority, which is our business coaching for other sleep consultants. And I love what I get to do. I get to work with families. I get to coach other sleep consultants. I get to, as we say, help make sleep a thing for families. Yeah. And it's incredibly rewarding. I love what I do. It was never something that obviously I thought was a career. I didn't even know sleep consulting was a thing until 6 years ago. Thought I was going to be an elementary school teacher for the rest of my live-long life. Yeah. And I'm so glad that ended.
Absolutely. Especially with the way I think things are now as well. So it's so funny that you say that, because that's how like Latched Mama got started. Like I was selling real estate. I had no thoughts of doing anything differently. What kind of drove you to falling into kind of like the sleep world?
My lack of sleep.
Okay.
My lack of sleep.
That makes perfect sense.
Yes. Like anybody, I think as well, if you have, like you said, you have a 9-year-old, how old are your?
They're 8 down to 1.
Okay. So like 8 years ago, 6 years ago for me. I was not on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know about stuff.
Yeah.
You just had a baby and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to go to the breastfeeding class at the hospital. And like, that sounds so archaic now saying that.
Yeah,
like there was just
absolutely.
nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I had Ellie, and I remember I bought a couple of books right before. I was like, I went through the whole like what to expect when you're expecting. And I did a breastfeeding class at the hospital, and I bought a book on sleep, but I was like, I don't need to read this yet. Like, it's a newborn. They're going to sleep. It's fine. And out she came, and it was a horrible birth experience, delivery, like just awful everything, right? For your first kid. And she screamed all the time. She screamed all the time.
That was my first too.
Yes. And I didn't know why. And I was
terrible.
like, I'm trying to feed her and I'm trying to do all these things. And my, the breastfeeding instructor, I actually taught her son. And so she came over to my house all the time to help me. And it was just like, it was miserable. And I had no idea that there was something called an awake window, that you're supposed to have your newborn sleep a lot. And I just thought, she's never sleeping. And I literally remember like, I guess she's just an alert baby. I guess she's just awake. Yeah. She'd be awake for 4 to 5 hours at a time during the day. And I was like, well, I guess this is just what it is.
I remember bringing mine because my first was, he didn't sleep. He was crying constantly. I remember bringing him to the pediatrician about like 3 months old. And the pediatrician's like, oh, this is normal. He's supposed to be awake this much. You just need to stimulate him. Maybe take him outside or something. And I was like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think we need to figure this stuff out. And you know, it's just, it's so interesting. So that drove you to maybe learning.
So everybody has to hit their rock bottom points, what Absolutely. I call it. Everybody does. And I woke up one morning and I didn't know where Ellie was. Like I looked over in her bassinet and she wasn't there. I looked over at Chad and she wasn't there. This was a regular thing. Like I would wake up and be like, oh, where's the baby? That's scary.
Yeah,
but the rock bottom for me was she was under my duvet cover. Like I lifted up the blanket and she had gone under the cover. And sometime during the night, I had picked her up and held her to go back to sleep, and she'd fallen down underneath my covers.
That's terrifying.
It was awful. And I vividly remember lifting up and like, there she is. And I freaked out and I grabbed her, and she was sleeping, and I grabbed her and like just started shaking like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What am I doing? And that was like, I have to do something.
Yeah.
I have to do something now. So I went over to Google and was just like, how do you get your baby to sleep? Not even like through the night, or how do you get it? How do you get them to sleep? And that's when I discovered, there's ads out there all over the place.
Yeah.
So there was, programs and books and things like that. So I just bought an ebook from a program because I was like, I have my master's in teaching. I can teach myself. I got this. So I bought this book and it didn't work because I was exhausted. Because I was trying to do it myself without my husband's help. Like I can do it myself. And I actually emailed and was like, this isn't working, but I want to become a sleep consultant. I don't know why. I was so desperate to stop teaching that I was like, well, this is something else. This is not working, but I think this could be something. And they were like, well, you kind of have to have success before you can do this. Yeah. So I ended up working with one of their sleep coaches, and within 3 nights, she was sleeping 12 hours all night long. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. I didn't know your kid could sleep. It was amazing. So that, like, anytime you hit that amazing thing in your life, like whatever it is, like you found the best skincare, you found the best whatever, like you want to tell everybody. Yeah. So I just started telling
especially
everybody.
Like when you were living kind of that postpartum madness by yourself, and like something you just said about how like it was your job to get that baby to sleep through the night, and like Chad could probably hold the baby, but at the end of the day, like you had to figure it out, and you were tired and you were postpartum, and like that's the part, like that's how Latched Mama was born too. It was just the idea that you didn't tell me that there weren't breastfeeding clothes. You didn't tell me that I was going to want to go out to lunch with a friend, but have zero idea how I was going to breastfeed my baby in public. And it was just this overwhelming desire to let the world know that like it could be easier or it could be better. I have to tell you though, and we were talking before we started the podcast, sleep is probably the most controversial thing with the Latched Mama audience.
In any audience, really.
Yeah. I mean, it goes south and it gets mean and it gets angry faster than we're talking faster than circumcision, vaccines. Like it is by far the most heated conversations that we see on our online community. I think we have a lot of naturally based parents who feel that sleep training doesn't mix with breastfeeding, baby wearing, attachment parenting. But I know personally, going through the fact that I've had 5 babies now, I'm getting more sleep with 5 kids than I did with 1 kid. And it's unbelievable. And I don't ever feel like there's ever been a time where my kid has not had, or my baby has not had exactly what they've needed from me, or I have left them for an extended period of time, or they felt deserted or something. And it's been this eye-opening experience for me. I haven't worked exactly with a sleep consultant. I just kind of figured out with number 2 and number 3, like kind of what was working, kind of honed it in with number 4, and then number 5 came along, and it's life-changing. It's unbelievable. And I think that there's part of me that wants to make sure that we empower moms to know that it's okay to learn your baby's cues and learn how to navigate motherhood without them controlling every aspect of your evenings and nights and days. So anyways, that's my little tidbit about it. But talk to me a little bit about kind of where you went from there, the system you developed, how it all works. So
it is, I will say that, and as you and I were talking before we started this, sleep I always say sleep is very polarizing. Mm-hmm. You're either going to have people who absolutely love it, want to tell all their friends about it, or like cannot even believe that you would dare want your child to sleep. Mm-hmm. There's different ends of that. But no matter even where you stand in that, I think the cornerstone has to be, are you enjoying being a mother?
Yeah.
Because that has to, I tell families and clients all the time, I'm sure your baby is adorable. I'm sure your kid is awesome. I don't care about them. I care about you.
Yeah.
Like I do, but you're the reason, you're the one who's here. I'm looking at you, you're falling apart, all these things. And so when it came for me, getting sleep with Ellie, it provided the way for me saying like, yeah, I'm done teaching. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm well rested. I want other people to feel this too. So within sleep consulting, you can go through various training certification programs. I get asked all the time, oh, so did you go to school for this? I'm like, there is no school for sleep consulting. There are certification programs. Yeah. And essentially out there in the world, there are only 4 sleep methods. That's it. There's 4 methods. And I say this all the time, and I say it openly, that if you think about a line, you're thinking about all the way over on the left-hand side is extinction method, or cry it out. And when you think about extinction method or cry it out, that is a method that works for people. Some people want to do that. Some people want to say, okay, I'm going to lay my child down, say goodnight, walk out the room. 12 hours later, I come back and get them. And
that makes me like sweaty and shaky. It's fine. I'm sure some people choose to do it that way, but it makes me like a little.
Well, and some people do choose to do that. And that's what they want to do. That's what they know that works. My only beef with that is that I actually, there's a group of pediatricians in New York who I've worked with many of their clients who they say, oh, start cry it out at 8 weeks old, which is not at all something you can do. Newborns cannot self-soothe. So when we're even talking about this, and those clients come to me.
It's so funny because I talk about like how much drama happens on our Facebook group with sleep stuff, but like I'm having this like visceral reaction right now to laying an 8-week-old down and walking away.
You cannot. So I should have even opened up by saying sleep training, we're not even talking about newborns.
Yeah.
This cannot even happen until 16 weeks from due date. That's when we're getting into the whole 4-month regression, which is only because the child is developing mature sleep cycles. That's why the 4-month regression sucks. It's because your child is now no longer a newborn. They need different things. And that's normal. Yeah. So on the sleep training line, you have this extinction, which is the literal cry it out, which does work. And by the way, all of these that we're about to talk about, it is scientifically backed that none of these are damaging for your child. None of them. You know what the core is? The core is maternal mental health. Right? And so if you're looking at cry it out, if that's a direction you want to go and you feel comfortable with that, that's one method. So that's all the way over here on the left-hand side. Then there's 2 here in the middle. We call them basically like gradual extinction is one. Okay. And then you've got controlled crying, which is leave and check methods. Okay. You've got gradual extinction, which can be like a chair method, a stay in the room, a camp out method. And then you've got the all the way on the right-hand side, no cry, Elizabeth Pantley, things like that. And so here in the middle with a leave and check and a stay in the room method, that's what I use. Yep. Those are the only 2 methods that pretty much any sleep consultant out there is going to use. There are not infinity and 1 ways to sleep train a child. There are 4 ways, and within that, people are going to just call them different things. Okay. You've got the sleep lady shuffle. That's the stay in the room method. You've got pop-ins. That's the leave and check. Like, it doesn't matter how you wrap it up in a bow. Yep. Like, that's what it is. And so I talk about this all the time. We have a really popular YouTube video about this that people are always saying like, oh my gosh, thank you. There's 4 methods out there, Becca. Yeah. Like, there's 4 methods. Which one fits your parenting philosophy? Which one fits you? What is the training program you're going to go use that is going to maybe certify you in that? But the certification program is just going to walk you through, and what it did for me was obviously teach you the science behind sleep, teach you these things, and then you go out and you get your clients and you learn from that. And so I've been doing this for 5.5 years, and the first really 3 years was just solely one-on-one. We worked with over 500 families one-on-one. It was an incredible experience.
Was it rewarding?
Oh, that's what there is no feeling greater in the world when you get to help literally change someone's life. Yeah. I had someone here locally. I remember going to her home, and this was a very normal thing to hear. I loved this part when I did in-homes. We'd be doing the bedtime routine, and the mom would be sitting there either bottle feeding or breastfeeding the baby during the bedtime routine. And there was always this I'm sitting there in the room, right? Yeah. Like there's okay, I've got nothing to do, so I'm gonna just talk. Yeah. And they would ask me questions about my job, and I would ask them about how they found out about me, things like that. And I remember this mom was like, Becca, I just got over shingles. Before that, I had pneumonia. Before that, I couldn't shake a cold for months. And
because she wasn't sleeping.
Because she wasn't sleeping. And and for pretty much every single one of these families that we worked with, you unfortunately, and it really stinks to say this, but you have to, in my clients have to hit a rock bottom to be like, wow.
You're almost like change. This beautiful postpartum doula that comes in and just says hey, I'm going to fix this aspect of your life. Because if you think about you and I don't have medical backgrounds, but I'm pretty sure that sleep is a pretty important part in just about every
it's the foundation of your health
aspect of life.
Yes.
Like I feel like the first thing like a midwife will say if somebody comes in with suspected postpartum depression or something is, are you getting enough sleep? Like, I mean,
Right.
I feel like that is like mental health, physical health. I mean, it's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. It's sleep is the foundation of our health. If you don't sleep, you cannot do anything. And that's not me just saying that because I have a job and I sell sleep courses.
Yeah.
It is backed by science that I actually hear people say things like, wow, now I understand why sleep deprivation is a form of torture in other countries. Like it's true, because sleep deprivation opens up so many horrible things in your life. And I don't even have to convince you of that.
Yeah.
You know that. So the other night, I shared about this on Instagram. The other night, I decided to just drink a cup of coffee after dinner. Worst decision.
Okay.
So caffeine takes 8 hours to wear off in your body.
Yeah.
So let's have a cup of coffee at 7:30 when I go to bed at 9:30. Yeah. I thought that's cool. Like I'm 31. I'm fine. I can do this. And I could not fall asleep until after midnight. And I woke up every hour until 6 a.m. And I was like, forget this. I'm done sleeping.
Yeah.
And I felt horrible all day long. And because broken sleep, I don't have to tell anybody that broken sleep is awful for your health and development. Getting broken sleep cycles all throughout the night, you're not getting the full restorative benefits as your body goes through those sleep cycles. So even just drinking my cup of coffee, like I trashed my night of sleep. I'll never do that again. But it reminded me that, wow, broken sleep is terrible. Yeah. But you're going to have that as a newborn. I mean, that you can't skip that. It's going to happen. Your newborn has to wake up throughout the night. They have to eat throughout the night. So if you're listening to this as a newborn parent, we can do things. But I hate this phrase, but it really is a phase. That part really is a phase. It definitely, sleep is so important to your overall health and wellness.
So, okay. So you work with two different kind of methods, it sounds like.
Right.
Do you combine the two, or do you work with families on the different ways? Or like, tell me a little bit about kind of walking into a situation and kind of how it all works.
Yeah. So when we're looking at different age groups, that's how we break our sleep courses down. So I'm not even talking about our newborn course because, again, that is not sleep training. I don't want anybody out there thinking, oh my gosh, she's a horrible person. She's sleep training a newborn. You can't. It's foundations. That's that. But once we hit 4 months from due date, and that's really important to look at the due date here. Once you're looking at that 4 month from due date mark, your child is developing these mature sleep cycles, just like you and I have. They go from chaotic newborn sleep cycles to every 90 minutes throughout the night. Okay, they're cycling through all these different stages, just like us. And that's the point where they can learn self-soothing. So throughout our different age groups, it just depends on what method we're going to use. So our 4 to 5 month program uses a stay in the room method because a lot of these babies are coming out of swaddles. They're coming out of being held to sleep or always being fed to sleep or being co-slept with. And our training philosophy is to get your baby to sleep in their own separate sleep space. It is 100% fine if you want to still room share with your baby. You can do that as long as you want. I work with families in 1-bedroom condos who they're always going to sleep in the same room. That's wonderful. Great. Do it if you want to. And that again goes into the maternal health. I have some families who are like, I want to room share for as long as possible. And other moms who say, I cannot. I'm so light of a sleeper. The moment the baby makes a noise, I'm going to wake up. So go to their room. And that's all on a parent's decision. So 4 to 5 months, we use a stay in the room method. 6 to 16 months, we use a leave and check method. At that point, and you can just know this with your child, between 6 and 7 months old, they start to get that object permanence. They understand like, you're over there, you're over here, you're out of the room. And developmental wise, it's a lot harder to do a stay in the room method with an older baby who understands
that you're still there.
Absolutely.
Right? And I mean, how many arms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I have had families say like, but I want to do a stay in the room method for them. And we'll kind of alter things and talk about it. And within 1 or 2 nights, they're like, can I please get out of here? Because the baby's just like staring at you. And you're like,
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
So we use leave and check method for 6 to 16 months. But then we come back to the stay in the room method for toddlers and preschoolers. So I work all the way up till age 5. And you cannot for let's say like a 18-month-old up to a 5-year-old, you cannot put the child in the bed and be like, okay, now stay right there. I'll be right back. That's never going to happen.
Absolutely.
So you have to work through a really slow stay in the room method to build their confidence. And that's for any age in this, it's all about building the child's confidence that actually you can do this. And it's so cool, especially for the 4 to 5 month olds, when you're sitting right beside them and you're helping them learn these self-soothing strategies. And there goes the thumb in their mouth, because I'm also anti-pacifier after 4 months old.
Okay.
The fingers are attached pacifiers that you can use all throughout the night.
And you don't lose them.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
They're right there. And so it's amazing. Parents tell us all the time, like, oh my gosh, they started sucking on their fingers.
And it's so funny because like I had number one who was super colicky, screamed, I swear, every single day for like at least 10 hours for the first year of his life. But I will never forget like the night, like I had to get him out of my bed before number two came, and they were 19 months apart. And so he moved from like our bed. Maybe it was it's such a blur. Maybe it was when I was going from 2 to 3. I don't know, but I remember, yes. Okay. It was from when I was 2 to 3, because Nathan was number one, and he like, I couldn't get him away from me. Like I didn't try. I didn't do anything. He was always in our bed. But then Alex came along, and he was number 2, and I tried something new. He was a little bit more of a different kid. And I'm sure that you see different temperaments all the time. So Alex was a little bit more low key. So Alex slept in his crib, but I remember my water broke with number 3, and I had to get the kids to bed. The midwife was coming over, and I was like, I gotta have this baby tonight. And it was this beautiful Saturday night. And I'm like, wouldn't it be great if they just slept through it? So I have this picture to this day where I'm lying on my bed, and I have moved Nathan at this point onto a mattress on the floor. And I'm literally laying in bed holding his hand. And I'm like, please, Lord, please let him fall asleep in this bed. Because like I can't have him fall asleep in my bed, because at some point tonight, I'm going to have my baby, and I'm going to want to come back to this bed and like cuddle my baby. And I know my midwife's not going to leave until I'm tucked into bed, but I don't really want to be tucked into bed with a 2-year-old. And like, it was way too much. So he eventually fell asleep on the floor. And then I think he was there for like the next like 2 years. I mean, it's just so funny how they're all so different. But I kind of learned after that whole segment that, it was so important to start introducing it a little bit earlier than I had with Nathan, and just kind of start to figure out each kid and when they needed it. And they've all since then really kind of by 6-7 months old have been in their own beds and have been sleeping through the night. And it's incredible. I don't know. It's interesting to kind of just see the progression kind of as our family has gone. They sleep together. So to get the boys there was one point where we used to call it our hotel. Like literally all 3 kids were in our room. Caroline was still in the bed. Alex was in a mattress on the floor. And Nathan was in a mattress on the floor. And finally one day I was like, no, like they might be sleeping, but they're all in our room. So
you need that space.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So the boys moved to their own room. Eventually Caroline joined them in their own room, but it's so funny because like they still have that comfort of each other, but they're not in our room. And I don't know, it's incredible. It's such an interesting, important thing. And that's why I think it's awesome that you're here, because it's something that people just accept the fact that motherhood has to come without sleep. And you're right, at the beginning, it does come without sleep. But then there are ways to navigate it after that.
Right.
That like, that makes sense. Like my 8-year-old this morning, Nathan, the one that's completely, he's still high strung at 8 years old, but he had a terrible morning this morning. Terrible. And I just kept sitting down with him and saying, what's up, bud? Let's talk. And he's like, I didn't sleep last night. Alex talked all night long. He snored. And I said, okay, well, I know right now Nathan's going to have a terrible day today. He's going to hopefully take a nap at some point. We're going to do our best. We're going to get through the day. But it's funny how even at 8 years old, sleep is still a thing, and it just affects the entire family structure. So.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Our preschool program is for 3 to 5 years old, but I've worked with 8 and 9-year-olds with it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, that program in itself as well. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. It's not so much like, oh, wow, you've developed these sleep strategies for preschoolers. It's habits.
Absolutely.
It is rebuilding habits, breaking them down, building them back up again, teaching them that they can do this.
Yeah.
And to me, like the preschoolers are probably my favorite and most rewarding.
Yeah.
Because those parents have gone through years.
And it affects everything. It probably affects the behavior.
Oh, yeah. They're hitting, they're biting,
Absolutely.
they're temper tantrums, all these things. And sleep is not a magic cure-all for like everything in your whole life, but it is literally the elixir for a beautiful this is the reason why we say you're a happy, healthy, well-rested family. When every single night you can put your child down. I know Ellie, she's the one that I sleep trained, my first one. She's 6.5 right now. I can put her in her room at 7:30 and she is in her room until 7 a.m. sleeping.
Yep.
And she's the benefits are just incredible. And I see other 6-year-olds who are not getting that. I can tell.
Absolutely.
You can tell. And it is so vital. And it's, I think, gosh, was it 2 years ago? 2018, 2017. The CDC literally said that sleep deprivation is a worldwide pandemic. Like that is something that everyone struggles with. There's a reason now. It's now a masterclass. I don't know if anybody does masterclass, but Matthew Walker, who wrote Why We Sleep, he just put out his masterclass about sleep because it is so important and people are not taking it seriously enough.
I know the difference in me at that time. 8:00 hits, and like we have different routines in our house. My husband's great with bedtime, but he takes like the middle two, he reads to them. The older two, the two boys, have time with me. Catherine goes to bed, who's the baby. But I know the second I put Catherine in her bed, and she's 16, 15 months old at this point, like my anxiety and stress level, I can feel myself starting to get ready for bed. Like everything starts to shut down a little bit. And it's amazing. And because then I can turn to the boys and I can talk to them about their day because they're a little bit older, so they're not in bed yet. And we can watch the Survivor Man show that we've been watching every night. And like that's their time. And then dad comes down after he puts the little two down, and he comes and he gets them and he brings them up to their room and he reads to them, and then they go to sleep. And holy moly, like I said before, like I'm going to totally jinx this whole thing, but like 100% I am getting a full. We just got a puppy, so I'm not always getting a full 8 hours of sleep. But I mean, I am in control of my evenings, which I never was with 1 or 2 until I literally decided that it was important to us, my family, my relationship with my partner, like business, because, our manufacturers go to work when we go to sleep. And it's just, it's incredible. And I think that there's such an empowerment that comes along with it. And it's not bad. It doesn't make you less of a mother to teach your child how to soothe. So talk to me a little bit about that aspect of it. Like children can learn to self-soothe. Is that something we need to teach them? Like how?
So there's, I see these, I like follow, the hashtag sleep consultant, right?
Yeah.
I follow that for my sleep consulting business. And there are sleep is polarizing, right? So there's sometimes these hot topic things where people say like, babies should not ever soothe. Babies cannot self-soothe. You always have to soothe for them. If we take that mindset,
okay,
when are they going to learn how to self-regulate? When are they going to learn how? And that's why attachment parenting and secure attachment are two totally different things. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But they're when I'm looking at self-soothing, we're looking at the child being able to connect one sleep cycle to the next without needing to rely on someone or something. So the analogy I always give is think about a car. Figuratively, everybody. So figuratively think about a car and your baby is in the passenger seat. Your baby, toddler, preschooler, whatever age they are, even
not for
ourselves.
real, guys. Not for real. Yes.
Right. They're in the passenger seat and insert whatever or whoever it is that's helping drive them to sleep. So we could insert pacifier here. All right. So you got the pacifier in the driver's seat, baby sucking on the pacifier. They're in the passenger seat. Okay. We're driving to sleep land. Let's go, 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 go. Okay, great. You fell asleep. Awesome. Get out of here. And baby is stranded on the side of the road. The pacifier drives off. Yeah, I did my job. Great. I'm out of here. And the baby's sleeping. Well, what happens? Every 90 minutes throughout the nighttime, every human cycles out of a stage of sleep and they go back into another one. And if the baby wakes up and figuratively again, they are stranded, their driver's not there, the car's not there, what are they going to do? They're going to cry out because they don't know how to do it themselves.
Got it.
And this is when the scatter technique comes in. People are like, I'll just throw like 20 pacifiers in the crib and they'll go over and grab one. The problem with that though is the baby is now 100% fully awake and alert. Instead, what we want is the child to be in the driver's seat, to know that, like, okay, all right, it's time to go to sleep. What can I do? I can suck on my thumb. I can suck on my 2 girls never did their thumb. They did these 2 middle fingers. I can roll over on my stomach when they can, do that developmentally. I can, after 1 year old, grab my blankie, grab my stuffed animal, adjust my, what the babies, I love when I get pictures of babies like on their belly with their butts in the air.
Oh,
like,
I have butts up in the air. And like literally once I taught them to do that, that is like, I have 3 out of 5. That is how they sleep.
Exactly.
Every night. Butt up as high as it can in the air.
So cute. I love it.
But you know what? I don't even care. You lay however you want to lay if you go to sleep. But
because
that is how they
do.
soothe themselves. Yeah.
And that's what gets me so fired up about this is that I don't know why that is seen as like, oh no, they cannot sell. Yes, they can. they can roll over, they can self-soothe themselves. And that's a question we get a lot about rolling. But when the child is able to do something like that, now what that means is when they go to sleep in the nighttime, I'm not saying children are not robots, so they are going to have bumps every now and then. But when they do fall asleep, guess what? Every 90 minutes throughout the night, just like I would wake up and readjust myself, I'm not going to remember that. It's just something my body knows what to do. The baby does the same thing. The toddler does the same thing. The preschooler does the same thing. But you know that you need to sleep train them or help them along if they are waking up throughout the night looking for, oh, I lost my driver. Pacifier's gone, mom's gone, dad's gone. I'm trying to think of other props, other things that someone or something has been doing for them. They are fully capable of doing that after 4 months old. Not newborns.
Talk to me a little bit about how this plays into breastfeeding. I know a lot of people say that, their baby still wakes up constantly, maybe still in bed with mom and dad, just literally just looking for the breast. And I've had a couple of those too. Talk to me about removing the baby from that situation if we know that they're just comfort feeding at that point. It's a completely different thing if they're going through a growth spurt, need food, breast milk's digested faster than other stuff. Well, we're not talking about starving babies. We're just talking about that comfort nursing.
Right. So if we put the scenario of, okay, the breast is in the driving seat and all throughout the night, baby does not know how to self-soothe. They just know I need to pacify myself for just a few seconds and go back to sleep.
Because that's all they do.
That's all they're doing. Right.
But then they fall asleep with the nipple in their mouth, and then you're like, what the heck am I supposed to do now?
Right. And I always put this disclaimer is that, okay, first of all, I don't know, especially since we do online courses, please talk to your pediatrician, please talk to your lactation consultant, like whatever we need to do to make sure that, yes, baby is able to sleep through the night. Okay, now if you are ready, right? Because obviously there are parents out there, moms out there who are like, no, I don't mind this. This is fine.
Yep.
Okay. Well, when you are, and if you are ready to know, like, okay, I need my space. I need to be able to put my baby down and sleep solid consistently on my own. Both of us wake up refreshed for the day. Then we want to look at a couple of things. I'm always going to go to the bedtime routine. The bedtime routine feed is so important. If your baby is getting droopy eyes, flutter sucking, getting glazed eyes, not fully engaged on that breastfeeding or bottle feeding, whatever it is, at bedtime routine, you're going to have an off night. If baby sees the breast as sleep and not nourishment, you're going to have all throughout the night. It's that whole driver mentality, and it starts at bedtime routine. If the baby thinks that this is what gets them sleepy or gets them drowsy, they're going to expect that. So you have to go back all the way to the bedtime routine feed and make sure that, okay, if you want to change something, it can't start at 2 a.m. It has to start at 6:30 p.m.
So are we putting baby to bed fully awake?
100%, not drowsy.
Talk to me a little bit about that and why that's important, because I have 100% learned that as a parent. Didn't believe it at the beginning, thought it was crap. I'm like, I don't understand. Shouldn't I wait for my baby to get tired? I'm going to nurse him sleep. Then I'm going to put him in his crib. Yeah, no, it doesn't work.
Yeah. So let's go back to the driver analogy, right? So drowsiness is the first stage of sleep. When you get drowsy. And you know that feeling where you're like starting to fall asleep, like you're tired, you start to fall asleep, and you get that like jolting, like the falling sensation. That's in the first few minutes of when you're falling asleep. So when you're breastfeeding, bottle feeding, rocking, pacifier, whatever it is, go back to the driver mentality. We'll insert the breast here. Okay. When you are breastfeeding your baby at bedtime routine, you're like, okay, that seems natural. Like, okay, let's go to sleep. Let's get tired. What's happening? The breast is driving them to sleep. So then you transfer them to the crib. And I get this question all the time, but they wake up as soon as I transfer them. That's because they have no concept of how to get themselves drowsy. So the whole point is that baby needs to go into that crib 100% awake and alert, which seems weird, but let's think about toddlers, preschoolers, teens, adults. Are we getting ourselves sleepy before we get into bed? No. It's the same thing for a baby. So they get into the bed 100% wide awake and alert after having a 100% wide and alert feed. Drowsiness, if drowsiness happens while breastfeeding, and then you transfer them, this may resonate for a lot of people. Have you ever experienced that? And then your little one just jolts back awake, and then it's another 30, 40, 60 minutes until you can get them to sleep again. That's because drowsiness, that little bit, can act like a cat nap and can re-energize that baby up to an hour. So essentially what you just did was give them a little cat nap. And then, now they're not ready to go back to sleep, so now I've got to help them and do it all. And the process just repeats.
And we're talking we're talking past infancy. We're talking about the ones, like you said before, that you stand up up and you walk away, they know you're not there anymore.
Right. Yeah. Because a newborn, I get that question a lot too. Like, well, how can I not? Because I'm saying feed them a wide awake and alert.
Yeah.
Newborns, that's going to happen.
Sleep.
That's all they're going to do. So yeah, once you get to this stage where they're very well aware of what's happening. But going back to the breastfeeding, it is amazing because I have in our plans and I tell moms, you should be experiencing a totally different breastfeeding experience within 24 to 48 hours after starting sleep training. Why? Because babies are so quick to learn. Mm-hmm. When you just start to keep them awake while breastfeeding, they're going to become more excited, more interested, more engaged. They probably will, I'm going to put in air quotes here, feed less because they weren't actually feeding. They were having these little snacks. Mm-hmm. And I've had so many moms.
They're probably going to have more nutritive feedings, though.
Exactly.
Like where they're going to eat when they're hungry.
Exactly. And so we want to see the bedtime routine feed and then the first feed of the day.
Yep.
Those sessions need to become like, yes, like the baby's like, I'm so excited, right, to eat. Now, 4 to 5 month olds, we have one feed in the nighttime. So we're not ripping nighttime feeds away. And in fact, on those feeds, they still have to be awake and alert.
Yep.
And if the baby decides to go to sleep at that point, then that's also telling us, oh, so you're not actually hungry right now. So the whole point is that whenever you're feeding your baby, bottle, breast, however, they have to be 100% awake and alert on that. I've even worked with G2 babies, feeding tube babies. They have to be awake and alert. So it doesn't matter how
fascinating.
We want to make sure that the baby knows what's happening.
Yeah.
But especially because I would venture to say that nursing to sleep is probably the number one prop here, and that gets so weird. People always say that's so strange. Why would you call that a prop? It's a good thing. It is a good thing. Breastfeeding is wonderful, but if it's causing broken sleep for the family and you are unhappy and you can no longer take delight in your child, there's something wrong here. And when you decide that you're ready to change it, we can do that, and that's a small step you can make.
So this is kind of a loaded question, but I'm sure there's been studies done. Kids, children, babies, I guess, that learn how to regulate sleep, do they learn how to regulate other emotions as well? Like, is it just something that like instinctually do they learn other things? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, is it more loaded than that?
Well, no, I think it's 100% true. It's hard. So obviously we're not going to take a child and like subject them to certain things. So there's not a lot of research on sleep, and sleep is only about, like, when it comes to sleep science, it's only been studied for 50 or 60 years, like not that long. We do know that sleep deprivation makes you more angry, more prone to be upset. You have, you actually start to lose your short-term memory. Like, it affects all of these factors in your sleep, in your day-to-day life. So obviously, if me as an adult, if I drank caffeine before bed the other night and had horrible sleep and had a horrible day, yes, it's going to manifest that in a child as well. And that is where I hear things about children who are hitting their teachers at school, who are crying throughout the day, who are throwing temper tantrums for no reason. They're exhausted. They're so, and it's like when I go to Target at 8 p.m. at night by myself and you hear the children throwing the tantrums, they're like, they're so tired. They're so tired. So yeah, I mean, it does. And I'm sure I'll have to look it up once we're done here, but it is, it truly is that cornerstone to how you feel emotionally. And we, like you said, your son didn't get a good night's sleep.
Yeah. And it was terrible this morning.
And you just know those things. You're like, something's up.
Yeah,
something's up.
Absolutely. So can every child learn how to sleep through the night?
I believe so, but I also know that not every parent desires that for their family.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'm not here to twist anybody's arm to be like, come buy my sleep training programs. No. And it would never work that way. And the first page of our sleep plan is a goals page. Like, why do you want to do this anyways? What's it going to mean for you? What's it going to mean for your partner? What's it going to mean for your job? All these things. And if you have no desire to do that, then you don't have to.
Absolutely.
You don't have to. It doesn't make you and I think you said it just a few minutes ago. Sleep training doesn't make you a better mom or a worse mom. Not sleep training child doesn't make you a better or worse mom. I believe that you are the right mom for your child.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yep. So let's just say you were to give like 3 tips on sleep. Like, let's just, from a standpoint of, hey, things that you can start tonight that may help the process go on. I mean, I would think probably a routine is probably number 1.
Yeah, bedtime routine would be number 1. And I have a free download that's called the 4 steps to solve your child's night wakings. And that's the first step, is a bedtime routine. And just like for yourself, you probably do something every single night, whether it is watching Netflix, taking a shower, going to bed. That's your bedtime. A child needs that too. And so it's that just consistent expectation that you can literally start from the first day that you have them. And I did that with my youngest Hattie. And it was, I think, starting those habits from day one is why I never had to sleep train her, because she just knew what to do. So a bedtime routine looks something like, and this is going to be a little bit different than what you may hear out there. I have a weird way that I do this, but I like to do the bath first or just a sink wash down. Then I like to just wrap them in a towel and slip a diaper on them and feed them naked. Because when you feed them naked, they've got all that delicious skin to poke, tickle, caress, all those good things, keep them awake and alert. So easy to do that. Then we're going to go ahead and do PJs, lotion, massage, whatever you do there. Then I like to kind of demand as a teacher that you go ahead and read a book. But I actually can't tell you how many parents have told me I was looking for when do I read a book?
Yeah,
because they've been putting their child to sleep and then putting them in the crib.
Yeah.
So this is where you do that. You feed your baby awake and alert. You put them in their jammies and lotion, and then you read them a book. And this is a great time if you do have another partner, if you have other caretakers, allow the other caretaker to read the book and get everybody involved, because I don't want any parent to feel like they are the ones who it all falls on them. Nobody else can do this.
And especially as a breastfeeding mom myself, I know sometimes removing the opportunity to self-soothe, or the opportunity, especially in the beginning of that process, to then nurse down because you're used to the breast being the driver. If you can pass that baby off to, your partner where it's not an option. I know that's worked really well for us in the past when either I've gotten pregnant or there's some reason why I knew that they were self-soothing, that for whatever reason we were done with that stage, right before bed, that my partner, my Eric, just would, take them and, take care of it, himself, which is great.
Yeah. And when I did in-homes, a lot of the times the mom was looking to get dad involved, but didn't know how to ask him.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And inside of our plans, we talk about, hey, if you are a nursing mom and you have been nursing your child to sleep, this is an opportunity to get your partner involved if they have not been the one to do this, because the baby, the toddler, especially the preschooler, needs to know that you're a team and it's not just, one individually. But even this morning in our membership group, a mom said, well, can I do it by myself? My husband's not available for nighttime. Like, absolutely. So you're not limited to success. It's just that if you are interested in getting other people involved in this is a good, if you're going to start one tonight, this is a good opportunity to say, yep, let's do this and let's do it now. So bedtime routine, definitely first one. I'd say the second one would be knowing your wake windows, because for me, that was the game changer with Ellie. I had no idea that a newborn could only handle being awake for 45 minutes. I had no idea. I was keeping her awake for 5 hours, right? So an awake windows change throughout your child's life. And we have a free tool. It's a schedule generator. It's just littlezsleep.com/schedule generator. And you can just pop in your child's age and get their schedule, because it's all based on age. It's not anything unique about, oh, well, my child is 10 months and 22 pounds. What's their sleep schedule? It's just by month. It's just by age. So knowing their sleep schedule so that you can time those wake windows. So that way, if you're doing your bedtime routine, and as an example, you have a 10-month-old, they need about 4 hours of wake time from their nap to bedtime. If you know that, then you're going to know, like, oh, okay, now I know when to time putting them down. It can be anywhere between 3.5 to 4, more generally 4. But if you know those wake windows, you're going to be able to kind of build out your day. And then
you're probably also going to know why they start losing their crap at dinner time if they had a shorter nap or something like that.
100%.
Fascinating.
Yes. Okay. Because then my third tip would be, like, now that you know that, you need to find that confidence and knowing, like, I know what I'm doing here.
Absolutely.
Because that's going to change how you start to do things. And then once you do find those wake windows, that schedules, honestly, let it go. Because I don't want you, my goal for a family is not to have their schedule on their phone every day. Like, oh, okay, it's nap time now. It's nap. Like, you're just going to know, like, oh, 9:30 and 2 o'clock. All right, that's the nap times. Yep. Because the whole goal in making sleep a thing is that you can be able to say, here's my baby. I'm going to go just run an errand real quick.
It's amazing. Like when my mom comes into town and, like, you know, we had like family over, COVID safe. But it was so nice because she was like, hey, it's time to put Catherine down. Do you just want me to go give her a bath and put her down? Like, 5 years ago, 6 years ago with number 1 or number 2, that never would have been an option. But we made it a priority this time. And I don't feel like she's gotten any less than anybody else has, but we started early. We started a routine. And now
she probably got more sleep than anybody else.
Absolutely. And anybody can put her down.
Yeah.
It is a game changer. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. And that is, that to me, that's the biggest reward. I know your child sleeping is the ultimate gift and the ultimate reward. But again, like, I care about the parent. I care about that mom. And if we all know, if the mom's not sleeping, the whole family's broken.
Absolutely.
Like, we know that. So it has to come back to that. And we have to be able to have that space for yourself. And I say this all the time, like, sleep is not selfish. Getting your child to sleep is not selfish. Wanting them to sleep in their own room is not selfish. That is a desperate need for you if you understand yourself to know, like, I'm not getting any space. I'm not getting, I'm literally attached to this baby 24/7. And we know that that's not going to be something that can long-term happen successfully for anyone. So to me, that's the most important, is that, okay, we have our bedtime routine. We know our schedule. Now let's live in the freedom, because having a schedule should not put you in a jail. That should not make you feel like you can never leave your house again. We have so many blogs and so many podcasts on live your life. Go enjoy fireworks on 4th of July. Go out.
So are like car naps going to mess up the entire schedule? Like,
yeah, but you know what? The next day, Just get back on it and do your schedule. And it was it was Christmas Day. I posted on our Sleep Society groups, like, Merry Christmas, guys. Get off schedule. Have some fun, right?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
it's gonna happen. And I say that, though, there are some kids who are more sensitive. Like, we're talking about temperaments. Yep. Some kids, if you get them off on one day, it's gonna take 2 weeks to get them back on.
Like daylight savings time.
Right.
Terrible.
Exactly.
Worst thing ever that happened to parents.
That's like the Super Bowl for sleep consultants. It's like, okay, everybody, let's get ready. But
terrible.
Yeah, it is. And so some kids are like that, and then some kids can just pop right back in. And you know your child best. So even listening to all these tips that I've said, if you're like, that doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for my kid, okay.
All right, really fast. This is like the longest podcast episode ever, but I have so many questions and thoughts. Talk to me about naps. Is there a certain age that we need to be dropping them? Is it done kid by kid? Like, what are your thoughts as a sleep consultant?
Yeah, no, I can definitely give you a fast rundown. It's pretty... in my mind, it's so simple. I mean, newborns, again, there's no nap schedule. It is really whatever. But by 4 months, we're looking at 4 naps, totaling 4 hours per day.
Okay.
By 5 months, we're looking for 3 naps, a total of 3.5 hours per day. By 6 to 7 months, there's no magic date in there. Just between 6 and 7 months, you're going to find that, oh, you know what? That third nap is terrible. It's not happening anymore. So you go down to 2 naps a day. And now we're totaling about 3 hours of daytime sleep. Anywhere between 12 and 14 months, we're going to go look at a 1 nap schedule. And that's going to be about 2.5 hours of daytime sleep. And then by 3, they're done napping. By 3, and this always like rocks
makes
people's
me laugh
minds.
because my 5-year-olds always nap. I make them nap.
But you know what? Like, I say this, a 3-year-old and up needs 11 to 12 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period.
Okay.
So we have in our preschool program, we have to talk about daycare, right? Because some kids are going to daycare and they're taking an hour and a half nap. Well, that's why they're not falling asleep at 7 p.m. It's because they're not ready for that yet. They need maybe 10 hours of sleep at night instead of 12 because they had sleep during the day. So usually between, like, my daughters, I don't wish this on anybody, both of mine dropped their nap at 2 years and 4 months old. They were done napping because I valued having 12 hours of sleep at nighttime, and they were no longer napping during the day. Just straight up refused. So that's actually common. Between 2.5 and 3, they're ready to stop napping unless they are in a situation where they're napping great and you want a later bedtime. Go for it. Yeah. It's fine.
It's fascinating. It's just so funny. I mean, I feel like we get that comment all the time. Like, why is my baby not napping? Why is my baby not going to sleep? And I really think if you just dig in and look at it and try and figure out these routines and the hours they're supposed to be awake versus not, it's such a cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, sleep is so complex, and there's so many.
But I feel like some of it's really easy though. Like,
it can be.
It's complex for sure, but like the science behind, like, there is science behind it.
Oh,
and like that's what's cool. It's like, it's not all arbitrary.
No,
and I feel like we all walk around and we're like, this kid sleeps, this kid doesn't sleep, da 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 da. Like, I think there is some science that it doesn't have to be quite as arbitrary as we all make it out to be.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, you can put numbers on things for sure.
Yeah.
knowing your child's wake windows, knowing what schedule that leads to, that is empowering for you, but it changes so much from 0 to 12 months old.
Yeah.
So you're not going to keep the same schedule. Like the only time you have a nice long stretch as a baby is maybe between like 7 and 14 months old. So like for 7 months, you're like, yes, I finally have the same schedule. But even in between that, sometimes they need a little bit more wake time. And you do feel like it's very normal to feel like for the first year, all you're doing is watching the clock. That is so normal.
I mean, I think that one of the takeaways, I think for somebody who's sitting there in that newborn phase, is that it does get better, but you have to get through it. Like there's no magic answer at the beginning.
Right.
You know, you will not probably get much sleep, but then, you know, there are ways at that point to, you know, afterwards to try and transition, you know, towards, you know, a better, more balanced situation for the family and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you can start habits from the first day, not sleep training from the first day. You can start doing a bedtime routine. You can make sure your baby's awake for only 45 to 60 minutes and that's it. But that's it. Literally my newborn encouragement, we have an email template because we get emails from newborn moms all the time. The only 3 things we tell them are, hey, take care of establishing feeds, heal yourself, and start a bedtime routine. That's all. That's all you need to worry about. That's it.
Yeah, and then just get through it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So can you tell everybody a little bit about how to find you and learn some more and if they want to connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So on Instagram, I'm Little Z Sleep. Our website is littlezsleep.com. Our podcast is Little Z Sleep. So everything is just a Little Z Sleep. Yeah.
And you do offer consultations and
for our students. Yeah. So we offer online courses for ages 0 to 5 years old. And if you are in our programs, then yes, I do phone calls. I have a trained consultant with me. She does email supports. Our big focus in this new year is our membership, which is our sleep society. And this is to help you keep making sleep a thing because we know, okay, great. Sleep train my child. Awesome. Oh, shoot, now they're teething. Oh my gosh, we're going to go on vacation. All those questions that you have is provided in our membership. And so I do videos for you, trainings. We do story times, meetups, like all the things. And with those group of women and all, we have about 800 families. We do a lot of coaching together too, just to help you maintain that. And practically any question you have, we have a video ready to answer that for you.
That's awesome. This has been fantastic. Will you come back and talk
Oh
more at some
yeah,
point?
thanks so much for having me.
Cool.
This was fun.
Thank you so much.